you've been before the committee, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, a couple housekeeping moments. We're on camera here, so I want to advise you of that. I am telling everyone that I am only going to call those applicants that make the short list sometime shortly after 5 p.m. this evening. I need the cell phone number of all the applicants. I'm doing that privately rather than on the camera, so if you could come up to me, please, and you'll be whispering on your cell phone, okay? That's great. So we appreciate your application. We've all read it very thoroughly, and we doubly appreciate you coming from Seminole County.
Thank you.
Because as we all know, this is a Seminole County, Brevard County open seat. You have an opportunity, if you choose, to give a few moments, not too many, because we're limited in time here, of an opening statement if you would like.
First of all, I want to thank you for the interview. I was very pleased to learn that the JNC was seeking Seminole applicants. So I want to thank you for that opportunity, and I want you to know that prior to submitting my application, I did speak with my family. If I were to be appointed to this position, I would be moving to Brevard County, and I wanted to make sure that was acceptable to my spouse, who works in Orlando, fortunately closer to this end, and as well as my parents. We're a package deal. They live close to us now. So I would absolutely move to Brevard County. I have not filed to run in Seminole County at this time. I have heard there is a rumor out there. I have been approached by many people to run, and it is something that I have considered. I've currently served as a general magistrate for 3.5 years. I've also had quasi-judicial experience as an administrative hearings counsel in Massachusetts for the Division of Insurance, as well as the Division of Professional Licensure. I handled cases there that were cases of first impression, which I discuss in my application, summary suspension hearings. I was assigned to those as the newest hearing officer due to my background. That was very interesting, and like I said, cases of first impression. I also presided over the rate regulation hearings in Massachusetts. Those were cases where it was rate hearings for the first time in 30 years. They were previously under a fixed and established system. I have a broad spectrum of experience. I've worked as in-house counsel. I've worked at the state attorney's office, insurance defense, Seminole County Sheriff's Office as general counsel. Criminal matters there, trained over 500 law enforcement officers, both within the sheriff's office as well as the municipalities. I have worked diligently in my current position. I have taught. I was invited to teach, which I thought was fantastic, at the Florida Circuit Judge Conference last summer for a case law and legislative update. Last month I taught at Judicial College Phase 2, and next month I am teaching at Advanced Judicial Studies. I'm involved with the Judicial Wellness Committee, and as you can see from my application, I serve on boards for many organizations, legal organizations. I'm also involved in Rotary to give back to my community, which is also a nice balance from the legal. I've been married for 11 years to a retired law enforcement officer who just went back to work, so I am very pleased.
Thank you very much. David?
You were obviously lots of quasi-judicial experience both here in Massachusetts and in sort of an impressive variety of forums.
Thank you.
Your litigation experience, I'd like to hear a little bit more about. You were in the state attorney's office for a little bit. You said you did insurance defense.
Yes,
You
sir.
can tell us a little bit more about your litigation experience and what sort of context that was, how it was business.
I can tell you I litigated at the state attorney's office a long time ago, which I think you can see by the dates of my employment. I had handled both misdemeanor and felony cases. I want to address the in-house at CNA Insurance. I managed litigation for ERISA and non-ERISA disability claims. I did not litigate them. I did work with our outside counsel. However, I can tell you that the temptation to jump up during hearings, the same thing at the sheriff's office on our police liability cases, which I did one day jump up in court and make an objection. I did work very closely. I had a lot of input, and I can tell you regarding the disability claims with the CNA insurance, that I was very green at the time that I accepted that position. Those were pretty complex cases when you're dealing with ERISA claims, and I did travel throughout the United States as far as the hearing in the different circuits, the federal circuits. We also had state claims, and I did actually litigate one case. It was a travel insurance case when I was with CNA, and handled that matter because it was here in Florida, and they actually allowed me to do that, which I thought was fantastic. I've handled a lot of administrative hearings, both as a presiding officer as well as the counsel, the advocate. Although many had counsel, a lot of them were pro se, but it was still the same routine. I never walked into court without every single exhibit I needed, every single legal argument, every single case that I needed to ensure that I was successful.
Thank you. Don?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Nice to meet you. I didn't vet you on the panel. I'm from Seminole County, and I already have gotten the calls about what a wonderful job you do in Seminole County, so I appreciate that.
Thank
as a
you.
Seminole County resident. I'd like to ask you, just so we can get a better sense of who you are and who you would be as a judge, what is the #1 attribute that you think is important to be an effective judge?
I think humility, and there's a reason for that. I think as a judge, I'm sorry, I know I keep going in and out. As a judge, you need to be humble. That is the most important thing, and the reason I say that is that brings along a lot of other attributes. When you're humble, you give off the aura that, and it's true, it comes with humility. You're compassionate, you're patient, you're respectful of others. You have to be humble. You are dealing with people who are coming to you to resolve a problem. And I say this, sometimes they didn't get an invitation to attend a social event. Many times this is one of the worst things that they've had to deal with in their life. And you are there to serve them. They are not there to serve you. And I think if you don't have humility, and you don't, which encompasses those other traits that I mentioned, I think that can give off the impression of you just didn't care about their case, or you didn't have compassion. You could be seen as biased if the litigants come in and get a feeling that you think you're superior. During Judicial College, they warned us about the Rovitis syndrome, and they drilled it into us over and over and over to understand that because you are now a judge and you wear a robe, you are not elevated to a superior position, and you should never appear like that in court. You are there to serve the people, you are there to serve your community, you are there to listen, be fair, impartial, and administer justice.
Thank you. Andrew?
Hello.
Hello.
I had the opportunity to do your vetting, so I talked to a number of people, a number of judges, I think almost everybody on your list, and consistent with what Donna had to say, nothing but positive feedback. And what was particularly impressive was what I heard from Judge Myers and Judge Lattimore.
Yes.
So I think your application and your biography make it pretty clear that you have a lot of experience, but I don't think that I spoke to anybody who's actually appeared in front of you before. And it may have been that those people just didn't call me back, but tell me a little bit about your judicial philosophy. Is there a particular judge who, if you get appointed, you would want to emulate?
Yes. I would like to emulate, and are we talking 18th Judicial Circuit, or are we talking, or may I use a few
You
examples?
can use a few.
Okay. 18th Judicial Circuit, it would be Judge Taylor. I met her at Judicial College, and I was so impressed by her. She is so calm and composed and level-headed that I was immediately drawn to her. She ended up becoming my mentor. I would go to her to ask her questions. I always tease her, my role model, you're my role model, you're my mentor. She is approachable, and she really appreciates her role as a judge. She wants to do well. She was in my class for Judicial College last month. She's transferring to dependency, and she takes it so seriously. She's called me. I provided materials to her. But she is so respectful to people, she has integrity, and she's so dignified. And I know this sounds cliche, And I know you don't know me, and I don't usually do this, but she truly is salt of the earth when I think about Judge Taylor. And I admire her and respect her. I know she cares about the job she does. I know she wants to do it right. I know she follows the law, and that's who I would emulate. That's who I would like to emulate as a circuit judge. I also really admire Justice Lawson. And it's for many of the same traits. He's very humble, he's approachable, but he follows the law. And I think if you look at his TMH decision, which is interesting because there's two other people on the bench who were involved in that, he was and he says it himself, he was textualist, and he read the statute, and although, excuse me, it may have been an unpopular decision, he wrote what the statute said, and he stayed within his lane, he stays within his lane, and he is there to look at the facts presented and apply the law. And that is the role of the judge. It is not to legislate. You are there to hear the facts, to be fair and impartial, and to apply the law.
Thank you. Captain?
Yes. What time will you start court?
I start court at 8:30 in the morning, sir.
Thank you.
Dan?
What do you think the transition would be like from being general magistrate with essentially appeal power to the judge for whom you're working on that particular case to being the circuit judge? How would the transition go for you?
I think the transition it would be smooth for these reasons. I think I am used to running a docket, so I know how to do that. I can immediately jump in and start working on the docket and know what to do when I'm inside the courtroom and behind the bench. I've had the opportunity to develop judicial temperament, which is very important. You're used to being an advocate, and it is hard to switch from advocate to that neutral decision maker. That takes time and effort. I have done that. I hear it in myself, even when I'm sitting there. I've learned you have to be patient with people. That's something I would bring with me as well. You do have to be patient with people. Not everybody's going to be ready with the answer right away. You have to be fair and impartial. And you have to sit there and make sure that you're listening fairly and that you're running an efficient docket, and that when you're going to be faced with things that you don't know, and you need to make decisions right there, and that's the biggest thing, is having to make a decision right on the spot. That is very intimidating initially, but I have learned you just listen to both sides, you apply the law, and you make the decision. There are going to be surprises. You have to be ready for that. You have to know that's coming. And when I don't know something, I do a lot of preparation before I go into court, which I would also take with me. So I think that's important as well. Reading everything. There's nothing more frustrating than when you go to court and you realize all of the things that you have provided have not been looked at. The attorneys and litigants know I look at absolutely everything, and I make sure I'm prepared, and I research the matter if I don't know what the law is.
Jeff?
Give us, as a general magistrate, magistrates are used for different purposes and reasons throughout the state, but as a general magistrate in Suffolk County, can you give the commissioners just kind of an idea of the type of people you see, the type of matters you hear?
Yes, sir. The matters that I hear are dependency matters, as well as I've started hearing guardianship matters. The dependency matters, as you can imagine, as with most court cases, there's a lot of emotion. You're dealing with families, you've taken children away. These are people, they are angry, but it's not just that. You have to have compassion for them, because they didn't get there necessarily. They got there on their own, but there's a reason they're there. You have to exercise a lot of patience with them. I've had people stand up and scream at me and swear at me and try to flip tables during the hearing. This is the same woman, as a matter of fact. And be able to sit there and stay composed, because I have a whole courtroom sitting there that was terrified, and I just sat composed and calm to make sure that carried through the courtroom. You set the tone in the courtroom, so how you react, how you speak, your tone carries through the courtroom. So I deal with people in crisis and people who are going to do the same thing over and over and have to treat them fairly and impartially every time they come before me. I see parents who are not reunified, and they come back on a new case with a new child, and you still have to be open and compassionate and fair to them and give them the opportunity that they deserve. It's a fundamental liberty interest to be a parent.
You prepare findings of fact?
Yes, sir.
Conclusions of law?
I compare every single hearing. I prepare findings of fact and and then apply the law and conclusions of law. And the guardianships, I'm handling orders to show cause at this point regarding the people who aren't filing their initial inventories, initial plans, annual plans, things of that nature, to try to get that docket back on track.
Phil?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
If you were to be appointed, is there one thing that you would like to see happen of all other things in your courtroom as to how to do a trial, how to treat people? Or is there one thing that stands out that you would like to see to improve the way the judicial system is handled in the circuit court?
Can you repeat that?
Is there one thing that you would like to see above all else change or be altered in some fashion in the, when people are in front of you as a circuit court judge? In the trial proceeding, in pre-trial proceedings, any type of procedures that you can think of that could improve the system?
The only thing that I would like to see improve is civility amongst the lawyers and professionalism. I think that sometimes not always, but it can be lacking, and I would want my courtroom to be structured and organized, fair, but I want it to be professional and civil, and also to make sure that I follow the law.
Andy?
Go Sox. What's your hometown?
My hometown is Norwich, Connecticut.
Okay, I'm dead a mess.
Oh.
So in response to question 45, you stated that you won the 18th Judicial Service Pro Bono Award in 2017. Can you explain what the circumstances were to win that award, what you did?
I served on the pro bono, the 18th Judicial Circuit Pro Bono Committee when we came up with a project that year. And as one of the co-chairs, Seminole County Legal Aid, Sylvia McLean had nominated myself and another judge because we had done so much work to bring that project together. And we brought people in so we could get people to help with the cases on a pro bono basis. So we came up with a presentation that someone came to Seminole State College, and of course CLE was always a big draw. So one of the things was, we'll give you the CLEs if you sign up. We didn't say it like that, but it was kind of you get this many CLEs because it was a significant amount, and I think it was for one of the specialized categories, so we were able to get attorneys to help with pro bono cases.
So I love your approach, since you're new to the commission here. Right out of the gate, the best defense is a good offense. You said, I am not officially running, or I haven't filed yet, and I'm moving back here. So obviously, you heard something going on. You called it rumors about those two issues, correct?
Yes.
So talk to me about the first one, about I have not filed yet.
Okay. I have been approached since 2016 to run for judge, a circuit position, mostly. It seems everywhere I go. Honestly, Mr. Lamon, there is not a meeting that I go to where I don't hear, have you filed? Are you running? Have you filed? Are you running? And I have contemplated that. That is something that I think about. I also,
But there's an open seat coming up, right?
in 2020, Judge Lester says he's retiring.
Okay. Is that the seat that people were, rumor mill saying that you're going to go after?
That seat, or Judge Collins' seat, who's a county court judge,
And when is that?
2020.
Okay.
They're all in the future. And Judge Woodard was also going to retire, but due to the change in the retirement age, he's staying.
So have you spoken to anyone in your circle or outside your circle and said, I am going to, assuming you did not get this appointment, are you going to do that?
I have spoken to people in my circle, and I have said, I am considering running for judge. And if this does not work out, that is something that I will seriously contemplate. There are a lot of things involved in that. I am not afraid to run. I know you have to run. I know whether you're appointed or not, there is a good chance, especially with an appointment in our climate today, that that will be contested. So that is absolutely a consideration.
If you had an opportunity in front of you to have an appointment in Seminole County or an appointment in Brevard County, which one would you take?
Honestly,
That's absolutely.
Brevard. I like it here. I've wanted to move here. And I know people know that. I have parents who are in their 70s. They are, and we're talking in an ideal situation, they are in their 70s. I have a father who has been sick for some time, and I know that, as silly as this may sound, they would like to be by the beach. I hear Melbourne Beach all the time. I like it over here. I have an affinity for the Brevard community. I try to come over as much as I can to attend the events here. I like Brevard County. I like Seminole too, but I would like to make the transition to be in a place where I know that I will stay I would stay knowing it has everything that I want to have.
You made a comment that you said, I was happy to see that the JNC was seeking Seminole applicants.
Yes, sir.
Something to that effect.
Yes.
What did you mean by that?
I understood that they extended the deadline and Seminole applicants were encouraged to apply.
Is there a prevailing thought in Seminole County when there's an open Brevard County seat, circuit court, that it's discouraged if you're a Seminole applicant?
I think there has been an unwritten rule over the years that if you are in Brevard, you only apply for Brevard. If you live in Seminole, you only apply for Seminole. And I would not disrupt that kind of agreement without understanding and clearly knowing that the JNC was seeking Seminole applicants.
Well, I can tell you that I've been on the JNC for in excess of 10 years, and to my knowledge, there is no rule, there is no unwritten rule that this committee encourages all qualified applicants from Seminole County and from Brevard County to apply for circuit court seats. So if you could go back and deliver that message
I would
to
be
your
happy to.
constituents, I think that would be very important, at least for me, and I'm assuming for my colleagues here, because I know it's important to the governor's office, and it's certainly important to us, that we are looking for qualified applicants. Now, from a practical standpoint, to move one's life and one's family and one's children, if you have children, we know is difficult, and that's why you generally get, you don't get, or you get a smaller amount of applicants from Seminole County. But if you could pass that message along to your board, that would be great.
I will pass that message along.
Thank you. And my final question is, what Brevard County presence do you have? In other words, you're not living here, obviously. Are you a member of the bar? Do you come here for, talk about that?
I am a member of the bar. I was here last night for a bar event. And as I said earlier, I'm a member of BCAL, Brevard County Bar Association, Brevard Bar Foundation. I do come over as often as possible and feasible to attend those events. And I'm friendly with people here who are judges. I do come over here for social interaction with people. And I do know quite a few lawyers in Brevard based on my time going to those events. And I know that I spend a lot of time at the events. It's much easier to get a ride over, but I'm not afraid to come over by myself and have many times because I think that's important, and I enjoy my colleagues here, and I enjoy the attorneys here.
Thank you. Any follow-up questions? Thank you very much. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate your application.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.